did to him.
My name is Sani Magaji. I wish our Muslim pilgrims Hajj Mabrur.
Assalamu alaikum.
Know the classic.
My name is Yakubu Rabi IB. I would like to know what is Ihram.
My name is Ibrahim Yusuf. Sheikh, I would love to know what are the pillars
Assalamu
of
alaikum,
Hajj.
Sheikh. My name is Muhammad Abdul
Assalamu
Kadir.
alaikum. My name
I
is
would like
Yakubu
to know what
Rabi
is
IB.
Fidya and
I would
Hajj.
like to know what is Ihram of Hajj.
My name is Sani Magaji.
Assalamu
I wish
alaikum,
our
Sheikh.
Muslim
My name
pilgrims
is
Hajj
Muhammad
Mabrur.
Abdul Kadir.
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. I bear witness that no deity of worship except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I testify that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the messenger of Allah. Viewers, I greet you with the universal greeting of Islam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. May peace and blessing of Allah be upon you. Welcome to another edition of Islam My Identity, a production of Liberty TV, which comes to you every Friday at this time and the repeat broadcast on Tuesday. I am Suleiman Umar Bajoga. In today's edition of Islam My Identity, we have a selected topic, which is the Hajj and related issues. In today's program, we have our regular guest who is going to enlighten us and educate us on the Hajj, the person of Sheikh Dr. Muhammad Ahmad Baba, PhD. Sheikh, welcome to the program Islam Identity. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Sheikh, the topic of discussion is Hajj and related issues.
No.
We know Hajj is one of the pillars of Islam, and we want to know the origin of Hajj.
Bismillah wa salatu wassalamu ala man la nabiyya ba'da wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa man tabi'ahum bi ihsanin wa qutafa atharahum wa sara ala nahjihim ila yawmiddin. فاللهم اجعل كل أعمالنا وأقوالنا خالصا لوجهك الكريم ولا تجعل للشيطان فيه حظا ولا نصيبا وارزقنا خير الآخرة والأولى ثم أما بعد فالسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Thanks be to Almighty Allah, the Alpha and Omega, the Master of the Day of Judgment and Recompense, whom out of His infinite mercy that spared our life to see this beautiful time, we continue to ask Him out of His benevolent bounties to guide us to the righteous path according to the teachings of the noble Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, his household, his pious companions, Abu Bakr Siddiq, Umar al-Faruq, Uthman ibn Nurayn, Ali ibn Ammihi wa Sihri, and other pious companions to the last day. The origin of Hajj came from our great grandfather, or the great grandfather of the noble Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, who was in the person of Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salatu wassalam. He was the first person that indulged himself in these activities when he was following the words of his Lord Almighty Allah, the commandments of his Lord Almighty Allah. He bear the calamity which Almighty Allah threw upon him by asking him to slaughter his son, that is Ismail alayhi salatu salam, after taking a long period of time without having a son. Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salatu salam, he lived before having a son for almost 120 years without having a son. Then later on, the way our noble Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, narrated in a very long hadith that was transmitted by Imam al-Bukhari and Muslim, reported by Abdullah ibn Abbas, may the peace and blessings of Allah and may Allah be pleased with him, because he is among the household of the Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him. When the Prophet was narrating how Kaaba was built and how Sa'i, that is the movement in between Safa and Marwa, took place from the beginning. Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salatu salam, he has his first wife, that was Sarah, that is Sarah. And by traveling to Masr, that is Egypt, when he got to that place, the cabinet of the king of Egypt, that is Masr, as at then, when they saw Sarah, because when the Prophet ﷺ was narrating the story, he said, she happens to be the most beautiful woman on earth as at then. So when this cabinet of the king saw Sarah bashing into the territory of that king, before getting in, Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam told her that I was told that this king, whenever he knew that you are my wife, he's going to snatch you away from me. So whenever he asked you, what is your relationship between you and I, tell him that I am your sister, because I never knew any Muslim on earth other than you and I. This is what her husband told her. Moreover, your wife is your sister in Islam. But he used what the ulama of rhetorics said, tawriya. He just hide the word so as to make him understand that if you said you are my wife, he is not going to allow you to pass away and to come to me. But if you told him that you are my sister, he will allow you to go. On reaching there, and they told him that, Ya ayyuhal malik, O you king, we have seen the most beautiful woman in your land, and that woman belongs to no one but you, because you are the only person that is equal to the task of that woman. So we are suggesting that you should hold her as a wife. By reaching, Ibrahim told him that she is my sister. And later on, because he has a rotten heart, he took her, he wanted to make an unpleasant movement in touching her, but Almighty Allah couldn't allow that to happen. Almighty Allah squeezed his hands, so he couldn't take his hand to her. He couldn't touch her. He couldn't come closer to her, let alone to have any unpleasant act with her. He was trying that moment for 3 times. Later on, he said, because he is pleading her that please do something, do something. Then she will supplicate, invoke, call the beautiful names of Allah and his attributes, then Allah will lose the hand. He did that 3 times. At the end of it, he said, this woman is a witch. This woman has a sorcery in her, has magic in her. She is a dubious woman. So I am eschewing myself from her. That is what the king said. Then later on, he gave her a slave called Hajar.
Okay, he, the king.
The king gave her a slave that take this woman so that she should be working for you at home. Then she took Hajar when she went to see her husband, and her husband, Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, he asked her what is happening or what Almighty Allah did to that stupid king. Then she told him everything. She narrated to him that this is what Almighty Allah did to him. He has humiliated him. Then Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam went back to his matrimonial home. He went to Babylon. Along the road, Allah did not bless him with a son. Then she suggested that he should take Hajar as a wife. Maybe Almighty Allah is going to grant him a son, because she sees that her husband is in need of a son. Then fortunately Almighty Allah bestowed his bounties upon Hajar. Then she became pregnant. And by so doing, Almighty Allah granted her a son, who was Ismail alayhi salatu wasalam. Then envy became bashed into her heart and came into her. Then she started having some misunderstanding with Hajar. Then Almighty Allah urged and command Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam to take his family, that is Hajar and her son Ismail, to Mecca. As at then, Mecca was just a piece of land. It's just a true Sahara. There was no anything, house and other places. Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam took his wife Hajar to Mecca. By reaching there, he left her in between the stone of Safa and Marwa. He left her there. He was just moving. Then she started asking her husband, why must you leave us here? A land without water, without food. Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam did not listen to her, because he is urged and commanded by Almighty Allah. So he didn't look at her. He was just moving. Then later on, she asked him for the last time, Allahu amaraka bihada? Is it Almighty Allah that urge you or admonish you or advise you or command you to leave me here in this Sahara? Ibrahim turned and looked at her. Allahu amarani bihada. Then he said unto her that it is Almighty Allah that command me to leave you here. Then she said in her mind that Allah will never forsake me. Then Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, on turning back, then he started supplicating, Rabbi inni askantu min dhurriyyati biwadin ghayri dhi dhar'in inda baytika al-muharram. Oh my Lord, I have left my offspring, my family, in a place where there is no any food, no water, nothing. This is a Sahara. I have left my family in a Sahara,
a desert,
or desert place. فَجْعَلْ لِيُقِيمُ الصَّلَاةِ, so that they should uphold by prayers. فَجْعَلْ أَفْئِدَةً مِنَ النَّاسِ, I seek from you, Almighty Allah, to put congregation of people تَحْوِي إِلَيْهِمْ, that normally come to them, وَرْزُقْهُمْ مِنَ الثَّمَرَاتِ, bestowed upon them fruit, لَعَلَّهُمْ يَشْكُرُونَ, so as they should thank you. And Almighty Allah recognized this supplication, and He made people coming to Mecca to visit Kaaba. This is the first supplication made by Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, as it was narrated by our noble prophet, Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him. And this is how it started. Then Hajar, at that moment, her son Ismail was in need of water, and there was no water in that place. Then she started moving in between the rock of Safa to Marwa. When she reaches to that place where today there is a green light, then she started juggling, because her son was crying. He is in need of water. He was crying. Then she started juggling. She did that for 7 times, from Safa to Marwa, from Marwa to Safa, like that for 7 times. By reaching to that at the 7th time, she met her son because he was angry of that testy. Then he started hitting his leg on the floor. And that is when the water of Zamzam started gushing out, just like an offspring. Then when Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, was narrating this story from this hadith transmitted by Bukhari and Muslim, he said, Rahimallahu Umma Ismail, law tarakathu lasara nahran yajri. Oh Allah, have mercy upon the mother of Ismail, that is Hajar. Supposing, or had it been, she left it flowing, it will have become a lake or a river. But she started digging so that the water shouldn't go away, because this is a Sahara, this is a desert. She needs this water to complete her life with her son. And that is how we got the action of as-sa'i bayna Safa wal Marwa. That is the movement in between the rock of Safa and Marwa. Then let's move to the al-rami, that is stoning in between al-ula wal-wusta wal-aqaba. That is in between the three. When in the same hadith, because it's a very long hadith, the Prophet ﷺ was elaborating how Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam took his son and his wife Hajar to Mecca. When Almighty Allah made it a decree upon Ibrahim through his dream, he saw himself slaughtering his son Ismail, because Allah is testing him, doing him a flavor to see how Ibrahim is going to welcome that testing of Almighty Allah. Is he going to hearken to the word of Allah? Is he going to emulate the commanding of Allah? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showed him in his dream that he is slaughtering his son. And he knew that this is a commandment from Almighty Allah. He came to his son, Ismail alayhi salatu wasalam. He was saying unto his son, Ya bunayya inni ara fil manami anni adbahuka fanzur madha tara. Oh you my son, I saw it in my dream that I am slaughtering you. What is your perception towards it? The father believed that this is a command from Allah. He wanted to hear the perception of his son. Then the son said unto him, Ya abati fa'al ma tu'mar. Oh my dear father, emulate what you are commanded by your Lord. Satajudini insha'Allahu min as-sabirin. You will find me among those that exercised patience. I believe I will follow what Almighty Allah is commanding you, my father, to uphold by it. And me as your son, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is testing me, is doing me a flavor to see how am I going to hearken to the word of Allah. I have testified that it is a command from Allah, and I have believed, and I will exercise patience and perseverance. I will throw it into my heart to believe in that. Falamma aslama. When Prophet Ibrahim was moving towards that, to go and slaughter his son, then Satan, Iblis, came to him. When he got to the Aqabat al-Ula, are you going to slaughter, saying by the Satan, saying unto Ibrahim, are you going to slaughter your son after taking many years without having a son? If you slaughter him, that is to say, you are going to become an outcast without a son. Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam picked 7 stones and he stoned Satan so as he should go away and distance himself from that. By reaching to the wusta, then Satan appeared for the second time.
In which kind of, how can I put it in, The shaitan appearance.
That is his attributes.
Attribute.
That is what the Prophet mentioned. He didn't mention that this is the attribute, but he is a prophet of Allah. So there is nothing the Satan can hide himself for him.
Okay.
So Prophet Ibrahim took another 7 stones and stoned him. Then when he went to the Aqabat al-Akhira, that is the last one, he came for the 3rd time. Then Prophet Ibrahim took another 7 stones and stoned him. Then he took his son upon a rock and he turned him back so that mercy of his father shouldn't take him without hesitating in accomplishing the commandments of Allah. فلما أسلم وتله للجبين وناديناه أن يا إبراهيم قد صدقت الرؤيا إنا كذلك نجزي المحسنين إن هذا لهو البلاء المبين. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, this is a true calamity that Allah said, mention it and tested Ibrahim to see how Ibrahim is going to fulfill the commandments of his Lord. And Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam did that. Because of this total submission from Ibrahim towards the commandments of his Lord, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made that action, the action of Ibrahim towards the commandments of Allah, and that of his wife, that is his household, and that is Hajar, Prophet Ibrahim and his wife Hajar, including his son Ismail, they all submitted total submission to the way of Allah. He was the one that named us Muslim. Because total submission, that is what Ibrahim did. And that is what you and I, Almighty Allah is requesting from us, to give a total submission to the way of Allah. The way Ibrahim did when Almighty Allah urged him to uphold by that action, and this is how it started.
Now, what about the Kaaba?
The Kaaba, the circumambulation of Kaaba, it is well known that Almighty Allah made it that Ibrahim and his son Ismail, they were the one that built Kaaba. The same hadith. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned, وَإِذْ يَرْفَعُ إِبْرَاهِيمُ الْقَوَاعِدَ مِنَ الْبَيْتِ وَإِسْمَائِيلُ رَبَّنَا تَقَبَّلْ مِنَّا. When Prophet Ibrahim, the apostle of Allah, the beloved prophet of Allah, and his son Ismail were building the foundation of Kaaba, that is what Almighty Allah mentioned. رَبَّنَا تَقَبَّلْ مِنَّا. Prophet Ibrahim was seeking from Almighty Allah that Allah should accept that act as an act of ibadah. And that is why Almighty Allah made it compulsory upon those that have the ability to visit Hajj. That is to visit that Kaaba, that is the house of Almighty Allah, because Allah has recognized, accepted the supplication, the invocation, the dua of Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam. And this is what happened. That is what Almighty Allah did to him. And Maqamu Ibrahim, it is where Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam stood when he was building Kaaba. He stood there when he was building Kaaba, he and his son Ismail, they were the one that built Kaaba. The Kaaba we are seeing today, it is not the real foundation that Ibrahim started. The real foundation that Ibrahim started, we know that this is the 4 cube of Kaaba. We see there is a place, just white fence, a little bit carving like this. That carving, when Prophet Muhammad was at 35 years old, there was a water, a rainfall, a very heavy rainfall that bashed into Mecca as at then. So it happens to be, it has destructed a portion of Kaaba. Then the people of Quraysh, they sat down thinking of how to tackle the problem. Later on, they said, okay, we are to build Kaaba and destroy and demolish this one that water must have destroyed a portion from it. What are we going to do? Then they were all afraid because they knew what happened to Abrahata when he came to demolish Kaaba. Then Abu Talib said unto them, Abrahata wanted to demolish Kaaba. This is why Almighty Allah descended upon him flameous fire from heaven. But we are not demolishing Kaaba for destruction. We are demolishing Kaaba to rebuild it. So I think nothing will happen to us. Then they said, okay, on that condition, we are to build Kaaba, but each and every one of us that is going to present his money must believe that that money is a true halal, is a lawful money that you bring. We don't want any money that is unusual, haram, and other things. So they gathered their money in building Kaaba. So the money could not build Kaaba from the real foundation where that curve is now. So they said, okay, let's build this one and put that sign of that carving that shows that the building of Kaaba started from that position. That is what they said, and this is how it began. So when they built Kaaba, they get to where they want to insert Hajar al-Aswad in his position. Then then they started having contradiction in between the tribes of the Quraysh. Each and every tribe want to keep that record that they are the one that inserted in his position. Finally, they said, okay, today let's make an agreement. The first person to get into this mosque will be the person that will be a final saying. Whatever he says to us, we are going to believe. They said, okay, we agreed upon that. Then the person that happens to come into that mosque that day was the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. By seeing him, they all said, Radina bil Amin, we have accepted him, we agree with him because he is a trustworthy someone to us. As at then he was 35 years old. Then the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they told him everything. He said, okay. He took a garment. He took the Hajar al-Aswad and took it and put it on top of that garment. He commanded each and every leader of a tribe to hold a portion of that garment and take it from where it is and bring it close to Kaaba. When they come very close to Kaaba, then the Prophet ﷺ took his hands and took the stone that is Hajar al-Aswad and insert it where it is now. And this is how this conflict resolved by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So it is the act of Ibrahim, the circumambulation of Kaaba, that Almighty Allah urged you and I to do that, because he was the one that built it and he was the one that started that circumambulation of Kaaba. And this is what Almighty Allah made it as a pillar of Islam to uphold for each and every Muslim that want Almighty Allah to erase all his shortcomings. He must follow the doctrine and the teachings of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That is why the noble Prophet said in an authentic hadith transmitted by Imam Muslim, Hajjul Mabrur laysa lahu jaza illa al-jannah. Whoever observe the Hajj that has no sin, cheating, unpleasant activities or words, he has no any reward in the presence of Allah other than Al-Jannah. Allah is going to grant him paradise. And this is the origin of Kaaba, and that is how it started. Then verses from the glorious Quran started flowing from Almighty Allah, commanding Muslims to observe their Hajj. And this is why the Prophet ﷺ, in an authentic hadith transmitted by Imam al-Bukhari and Muslim, narrated or reported by Umar ibn Khattab, that long hadith that is in Arba'in al-Nawawi, said, أخبرني عن الإسلام قال أن تشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأن محمد رسول الله وإقام الصلاة وإيتاء الزكاة وصوم رمضان وحج البيت من استطاع إليه سبيلا, and the visiting of the house, that is Kaaba, to he who have the means and ability of visiting Kaaba. And that is how it begins. Wallahu ta'ala a'la wa a'lam.
Alhamdulillah, Sheikh, I don't want you to stop this because I'm really deep in it, and I hope my viewers are also enjoying what you are telling us about the history of Hajj, how it begins. Ustad, due to time factor, we are going to stop here. Next week, inshallah, we will continue where we stop. Here we come to the end of today's edition of Islam Identity. I hope you will be with us next week, inshallah. Suleiman Umar Bajoga saying, peace salam.